It's 2024 and you're asking yourself, should I buy a W204 Mercedes-Benz C-Class? The short answer of it is yes, you absolutely should. Today we're going to be going over 2 years of ownership of my 2013 Mercedes-Benz C300 4matic, including every single penny I've spent on this vehicle. And one of the reasons why, and actually the many reasons why, I think that you should be buying this car if you're in the market for a used luxury vehicle. So let's talk about this vehicle. When I bought it, paid about $9,000 for it with 220,000 kilometers on the odometer. I also paid $1,500 to get these Toyo Observe G3 Ice winter tires. It's a pretty affordable set of tires that actually has good performance. It's not just your cheap crap that you're going to be putting on the car just to have winter tires. The idea is you've got something that works really well. Plus, these are a staggered set, so the rear rims are a little bit wider than the front, so that added a little bit more to the cost. So what did I do in the first year of ownership? Now, we have talked about that, and we've also done an 18-month update, so you can go back and take a look at that. But just for a recap, in the first year of ownership, I did a full inspection and a service A at Mercedes-Benz Granby when I first bought the car. That cost me about $640. Obviously, I wanted to make sure that the car was in good mechanical shape, because in Quebec, you actually don't need a mechanical inspection as long as the vehicle has been on the road within the last, I think it's 12 months or 24 months, which is kind of scary. Then I brought it here to Ontario when we moved. I did a full safety inspection as well as an OEM battery at Mercedes-Benz London. That cost me about $890. And then I did the winter tire swap over from an independent shop. That cost me another $110 or so. So total cost for the first year of ownership was $1,639.82. That is Canadian. So what did I do for year two? Well, close to the beginning of 23, I did a AC recharge as well as a service B at an independent shop. That cost me about $315. Now, since then, we've talked about how the AC has run out on this vehicle. I do need to replace some of the components because they're leaking. Rock Auto has the parts for about $900 delivered to my house. I figure labor would be maybe, what, $500–600 at the most. So we've talked about that. That's something that we will probably get done in the spring, but just keep that in mind. So the recharge itself cost me some money, even though it doesn't work anymore. A little bit later on in the month, I had parking brake issues, so I had to get the rear brakes serviced. We have new discs and pads on the back brakes, as well as fixing the actual parking brake so it works. It is a little stiff though. That cost about $615 to do. I did the winter tire swap off to put on my summer tires. It was about $125. And then the front strut on the driver's side broke. I could hear some dingling as I was driving along. Sure enough, the actual strut broke. Now we figured that these were aftermarket and they were also lowered from the original factory spec. So I replaced both front struts. Why are you going to just do one? That cost me about almost $900 Canadian for that, which, I think it worked out pretty well. The car's been riding very, very smooth. I haven't had any issues with it. So those were aftermarket struts, nothing OEM. You're not going to be putting that on a car like this, but overall worked out pretty well. And then the final thing I've done to the vehicle was put on the winter tires, as it is actually snowing here today. They are good to have. That was about $200 at a different independent shop. So that cost me $2,152.25 total for the second year of ownership, $3,792.07 Canadian total so far that I've put into this car. Now again, keep in mind I started at 220,000 kilometers. That is a high mileage for any vehicle you're looking at, let alone a Mercedes. But this thing still works. It fires up without a problem every time. And I only just repatriated this vehicle a couple days ago. It has been in Toronto for the last 4 or 5 months since I started doing press cars again. It's just been sitting out there. So it'll sit for weeks or even a month at a time. Get right into it, fires up, no problem, have no issues with this vehicle. So that is one of the major reasons why I definitely suggest buying one of these if you're in the market for it. I mean, they really are reliable. There are problems, some of the issues that I've had are pretty much maintenance related, but there aren't any serious faults when it comes to this car. But we're going to take it on the road. I want to talk about how this car drives, rides, performs, and everything else about it. And again, the other reasons why I would definitely suggest buying this if you're in the market. We've had a lot of views on the original video that we did on this back when I bought it at the beginning of 2022. So I know that there is some good interest in it. So if you are in the market for a W204, we're going to be going over some of the other things you should consider if you're in the market for it. Now, I am a big guy. I don't really fit in any of these cars very well. That's one of the reasons why I bought my S-Class. I fit way better in there, but even though I am on the large side of things, I do fit well enough in this. I'm comfortable. The seats are pretty decent. The seats are synthetic leather. They do rip. You can see in the B-roll that my driver's seat does have a tear in it, and it was like that when I bought it. It hasn't really gotten any worse, which is good, but it's also difficult to find a replacement for it. I have called around to a couple upholstery shops. Some of them won't do it because it's very difficult to get a matching synthetic leather for a Mercedes, especially of this era. And then I was waiting to hear back from another one. I never heard back. It's been months and months now. So I mean, it's been like half a year. So I think I can give up on that. But you know, there are a couple things that I would like to do to get this vehicle kind of up to full snuff, right? Really, the things that need to be done will be the air conditioning. We've talked about that on our previous video. My driver's side mirror, it broke when I replaced the battery. I guess it was just over voltaged, and the pin that keeps it set was just brittle. You know, 10, 11 years old now, so that just broke as soon as the car opened up the mirrors originally. So I've had to disable the closing function on that mirror, which is a bit of a bummer. So I'd like to replace that. I would like to fix the seat because it looks kind of stupid. And then aside from that, though, the car's in pretty good shape. I mean, everything works. There's no issues with any of the functionality of the vehicle. All the buttons work, all the controls work, everything else works. My sunroof, I don't use it. It does have quite a bit of a wind noise to it. You can hear quite a lot of wind coming in when you're driving around. And I do have a bit of an issue with drainage because if I do take this through an automatic car wash, it still leaks near the actual parking brake. And I thought I fixed that with the drain plugs under the hood. Didn't really do it, so it's still doing it a little bit. So a couple small issues here and there, but for the most part, I mean, this thing does exactly what I want it to do. Currently, it's like a winter beater, right? Because I'm doing press cars. This week is a rare week. We didn't have anything booked, and I actually don't mind because it gives me an opportunity to drive my own vehicle. So we brought this back. It's back here in St. Thomas for the first time since August, and it gives me the opportunity to drive this car around town and talk about it in a 2-year video, because it almost is 2 years to the date since I bought this vehicle. So I wanted to do a video on it and go over things, but it works. Everything I asked this car to do, it does. It's just unbelievable how it can sit for weeks and weeks, if not a month at a time, without moving, and it just fires right up. There's no issues. There's no little weird gremlins going on where the power drains out of it. There's no battery drains on this one. It works great. And it's not to say it's flawless. You know, the small issues that come with the W204s are present on this. Like, for example, if I am kind of flooring it, like almost like this, the car takes a bit to get into the right gear, and then it does have a rough, I think it's the third gear that's a little rough, but it's livable. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I did a full transmission fluid flush, it would fix it up a little bit, but I have heard that just it's something you got to live with. So I don't really mind going back and forth to Mississauga and to, you know, for example, Markham, where I had to pick up the BMW, where I had to pick this up last. That's, you know, 220 kilometers. That's pretty much how much I've been driving on it within the last couple months. I don't do a lot of mileage on it. I mean, we're only at 231,000. So I have done about 11,500 kilometers in this car since I bought it in 2 years. That's not much. And I mean, I was daily driving this almost every single day in 23, and now I'm not, right? It's again just a winter beater essentially, but it just works, and that's what I love about it. I mean, it's relatively modern on the inside here. Mine is pretty basic, right? There's no extra features on here. I've got just a regular radio. There's not even Sirius XM on here. No blind spot monitoring, no backup camera. I've got parking sensors, automatic high beams, heated seats. That's pretty much it. Dual zone climate control. Those are the extent of the features on this specific vehicle. Obviously, you go up to the C350, get the full power out of the 3.5 liter V6 engine. You have a little bit more features on it. You could have upgraded the features on this to include other things like blind spot monitoring, backup camera, all that stuff. So I mean, there are options to have had a slightly nicer experience, but if you're looking for a pretty honest used luxury vehicle outside of Lexus, which we featured plenty of them from the 90s and early 2000s, and they are just flawless vehicles. But if you're looking for something that, you know, should work, this is a great example. And again, you know, we talked about this recently when we did our 18-month update, but you know, there's been a lot more interest in my original video on this that we featured 2 years ago because people are looking at these in the used market. So This isn't clickbait. This isn't me redoing a video from before and saying, hey, should you buy it in 2024? No, this is the 3rd of January, 2024. You should buy this car. Low mileage would be better, but doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be problem-free, because if you've got the maintenance history on it, then you'll know what's been done and you can kind of predict what needs to be done down the road. I didn't have the luxury with this one, but it still worked out pretty well. So I don't have any regrets about buying this car. Comfort is there. Interior, decent enough. Exterior looks fantastic. One of the best designs for a Mercedes C-Class in the history of this vehicle. Yeah, there's not much more to want. Like, if you just want something that's relatively honest, cheap enough, you know, like I said, I paid $9 grand. You shouldn't pay any more than 12 or 13 for one of these, and that would be like a really low mileage example. So if you find one with like 130,000 kilometers on it, I would spend $12,000, $13,000 on that, and I would be really, really happy with it. Anything more than that, you're spending too much than the vehicle's worth, and then anything less than like $7,000, you're probably getting into something like this, really. I mean, there's nothing overly wrong with this one, but we've talked about the issues with this. If I put it on the market today, I would probably list it for about $6 grand. So keep that in mind. If you're looking at this, you know, the sweet spot still is in the 5-digit mark, but you're getting a hell of a car. And I mean, if you're looking for something either as your first vehicle, you're looking for something as a winter beater like I'm using this right now, or just a daily driver that, you know, is decent enough on fuel, then this will be good, because I think we're averaging, I think it's like 7. It says 13.8 from start, but that's because we've been driving around. It says 12.1 from reset, but yeah, I'm usually averaging on the highway like 8 liters at the most per 100 kilometers. So, I mean, pretty much everything that you would want out of a used vehicle, you get it with the W204. So I do recommend it, and I do plan on holding on to this. I know it was kind of iffy when we did our 18-month video. I got this car, it's licensed, it's insured, we're keeping it. And like I said, I do plan on getting the AC fixed and some of the other cosmetic stuff to just make it livable a little bit more. You know, AC especially, it's going to be pretty brutal in the summer if I haven't gotten that fixed. But as always, we do try to get back to everybody in the comments. That's where we love to be. You know, obviously, we're trying to build a community here at Test Drive, so we want to get back to all the comments. So let us know, do you have a W204? Are you in the market for one? Is that why you stumbled across this video and you're curious to know more about it? I own the car, so I can tell you all about it. If you have specific questions about it, please let me know and I will let you know. But that pretty much does it for our video going over the 2-year ownership and why you should buy this vehicle. So until next time, thanks for watching and take care.